I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The Knicks got their ass kicked yet again by the Detroit Pistons. And you are capable, I am capable, we are all capable of dribbling a basketball and chewing gum at the same time. In one breath, I will continue to stand by the fact that losing games in February and January will not impact what happens in May and June. But I can simultaneously tell you, Tiki, there were things from last night, and there are things from these 3 regular season games that concern you. And we can discuss them, we can argue about them, while also reminding you that come May, the results of a basketball game on February 19th have no bearing.
Yeah. Now, we talked about this briefly yesterday and what our reaction would be depending on the result of this game. Now, they got their butts kicked, but not nearly as bad as they got their butts kicked the first 2 times.
Well, that's a victory, I guess,
yes,
right?
Instead of losing by 30+, they only lost by 15. So, great, good job, Knicks. I think the concerning thing, and this is what we said would happen if they lost in convincing fashion again, is that we would start believing they just can't beat the Pistons. There's just no way with Cade Cunningham, and hell, they didn't even have 2 of their best big men in this game. And
Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren were not playing. We knew that going in. And by the way, Jalen Duren, I'll say this again, all-star Jalen Duren has not faced the New York Knicks this season.
Right.
He has missed all 3 games.
Right. But they had a fantastic Paul Reed outing by the Detroit Pistons. And so there is an energy that the Pistons play with that is hard for the Knicks not to match, because they can match it, but to sustain it. It's 48 minutes for the Pistons. They do it from start to finish, and there's constant pressure on you. I mean, they make a long-range three-point shot, and they made 42 or 3% from three-point range yesterday, and then they're immediately pressing you at the baseline. And so, like, there's an energy that's hard for this Knicks team to match, and so you end up having to say, "Oh, how do you beat them? How do you best them?" Because they're going to take you at your game. They're going to physically play you defensively, and then they also have the ability to make shots from all over the court. So what do the Knicks do? Like, how do they combat that? And on the broadcast that I was listening to, because I was listening to the Amazon broadcast, it was just get Cat in the post, just throw it down to Cat in the post and let him dunk and use physicality. I'm like, yeah, but that's not his game.
That's a part of it, though. No, it has been his game,
but it's not his game. Okay, right,
and whose
now.
fault is that? It's on Mike Brown, it's on Jalen Brunson, and it's on Cat.
But I also feel like Cat doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, but Cat's done it before. Yeah, like, I can't argue that statistically in 2026, Karl-Anthony Towns hasn't been this post-demon, but in the past, he has. And when you are facing a team minus 2 of their important bigs, you have to take advantage of it. You need to be more aggressive. And I know this is like the easy way out answer, but I truly believe it is the answer. Who do you blame for that? Everybody. You blame Jalen Brunson. Right. You blame this head coach. And yes, you will blame the lack of aggressiveness from Cat, who didn't score a bucket until there was a few minutes left in the first half.
Yeah, now whose fault is that, though?
Everybody.
Exactly. And so to me, I think if you're going to beat the Pistons, you got to do something they're not expecting you to do. And honestly, it's just try to outscore them. You have to. How do we get to 130? Because that's what it's going to take to beat the Pistons.
Okay.
We've seen it all 3 of these games.
I'll give you an example that backs up part of your point in terms of what's happened in this season series and certainly what happened last night. So if someone just said, hey, let's just talk about last night's game, what happened? Can you summarize real quick why the Knicks got their ass kicked by the Detroit Pistons? The first thing I'd say, and I don't know if it's the first thing on people's mind, but if I'm just being an IBO about what went wrong last night, is it is very tough to win a basketball game in 2026 in which you miss 16 straight threes. Agreed. It is very difficult to win a basketball game in which you shoot 8 for 35 from 3.
Yes.
Trivia question. Do you guys know what the Knicks shot from 3 in their previous game against Detroit?
No.
Yesterday was 8 for 35. The previous game was 8 for 33. They have, and what happened last night?
But that's because of the Pistons.
No, not in the first half. I disagree. They missed open shots. Yeah, they missed open shots in the first half last night.
They did.
That's on them.
But the Pistons also, they make you play faster, right? They make you feel urgent and not comfortable all the time. Just because they're long, they're running out, they're helping, they're gonna blitz you, they're gonna do all these things that just aren't lazy basketball. And I think too much in the NBA, as it doesn't matter what team we're talking about. You go out on a Tuesday or a Thursday last night, you're getting lazy basketball from a lot of these teams you're playing. The Pistons don't play that way.
And I didn't think the Knicks were lazy until they let go of the rope in the second half of this game.
I'm not talking about the Knicks being lazy. I'm talking about defenses that the Knicks play or the Boston Celtics play. It's just kind of like, yeah, I could run out there, but I'm not. I'm just going to jump from right here.
Right.
The Pistons are in your face.
Yeah, but wait. I want to go back early in this game, and it's rarely that I would pick a play like first quarter.
Yeah.
But do you guys remember when OG Anunoby was wide open on the left wing and no one actually went out to defend him?
Yeah.
They're like, we're just going to give it to you. You're so wide open.
Right.
Why bother closing out?
Right.
And OG dribbled, and he's like, okay, I got this. And he takes the open three, and he clanks it. That was the Knicks in the first half.
Of course.
Like, I get it. I'm not disagreeing that the Pistons aren't a pest defensively. They're an elite defensive team, and I don't want to take anything away from the Detroit Pistons and what they've accomplished in the regular season and what they've done to the Knicks in these 3 games. I'm just pointing out that in the first half of this game, the Knicks missed a crap ton of open shots.
No, of course they did. And by the way, that's also, I think, Pistons' philosophy. It's half the time we're going to overload wherever we think the ball is going to be and force you to throw it across court and do these miraculous things in order to get open shots. And then once you do that, you know what? If you beat us, good.
Yeah, but
good luck to
the Knicks this season are not that kind of shooting team. They're better than that. And so this actually.
So why have they struggled so much then?
Look, I think there's a lot of reasons why they've gotten their butt kicked by Detroit, but just specifically on the 3-point shooting, which we would agree was a huge influence in this game. Okay, I'm not saying it's the only problem, but it was a big problem. Wouldn't we all agree that last year, the main reason the New York Knicks were able to upset the Boston Celtics is that, I forget what Tommy called them. Oh, that's right. The Boston Shockers missed a ridiculous amount of threes. And we even sat there after game 1, even in game 2, and said, that's not sustainable. Unfortunately, when you rely on the 3, there are going to be games like that.
Right.
It did Boston in last year.
True.
And in the last 2 games against Detroit, it's played an influence. I'm not putting it all on that because there's other things I want to get to about this, but it's played an influence on why they've struggled. If they're going to shoot 20% from 3, guess what, Teak? They're not beating them. I gotcha.
No, you're right. No, they got to score. They got to be who they were when they're good.
But to your point about Cat, the Knicks, and it's on Cat, it's on Coach Brown, it's on Jalen Brunson, it's on all 3 guys, and I guess everyone could pick a side on who they want to blame more. It's all 3 of them in my book. It is inexcusable in the first half of this game when you know, and I get that basketball played very well last night, all right? You still need to take advantage of Detroit being shorthanded.
That was Paul Reed, by the way.
Well, his nickname is Basketball Reed, I think.
Yeah, I know, but most people, I don't know if everybody knows that.
Sorry, B-Ball Reed. He was great last night. I'm not arguing that, but you also were facing, who was the backup big that played? Tolu Smith?
Yeah, I didn't know who that was.
Guys played 9 games in the NBA.
Right.
You need to take advantage of that. But I will tell you one thing that does concern me.
Go ahead.
One legitimate thing that concerns me. And I'll never forget a year ago when the Knicks were playing the Pistons and we were talking about the series, I made a comment to Tommy Lugauer. I said, look, I think there's going to be a day where Cade Cunningham passes Jalen Brunson. And I said, I got a great idea. We picked a date in 2030. And I said, on that date in 2030, you're going to come back on the air and we'll debate Cade Cunningham versus Jalen Brunson, because I think there's going to be a moment where he passes him, and we're all going to agree he's the better player. Last night, and really in the head-to-heads that we've seen between Jalen and Cade, you're starting to fear that the best player on the court in a best-of-7 series between the New York Knicks and Detroit Pistons is no longer Jalen Brunson.
Yes.
Cade Cunningham has added to his bag. He's 24 years old. He gets to the free throw line a lot more than last year. He still struggles to hit threes, though not against the Knicks.
No.
And not against them this season. And more importantly, what Cade did last night, as much as I'll minimize the game, and maybe many in the audience will minimize the game, that was a big game for Cade Cunningham. That is a big game for the Detroit Pistons. They are trying to send a message. And Cade Cunningham gave us a little example that he's not afraid of the moment.
No.
And what would put a little bit of fear in me is that last year when they played, the best player on the floor was Jalen Brunson. Even in the Celtics series, as good as Tatum was before he got hurt, there was a sense of the best player on the floor is Jalen Brunson. Cade Cunningham continues to take these steps and have these moments that makes you start to wonder, is Jalen Brunson going to be the best player on the floor in a best-of-7 series?
Yeah.
And that is a pendulum changer.
It didn't feel like it last night. Look, Jalen Brunson had a good game. Scored 33 points. Cade Cunningham took more shots than Jalen Brunson had points.
Stop right there, though, Teak. I'm going to give you another stat that's going to blow your mind.
Go ahead.
Cade Cunningham last night had more assists than Jalen Brunson has had in the entire season series against the Detroit Pistons.
Wow.
Cade Cunningham last night had 13 assists.
Forget the fact that he scored 42.
Forget that. Cade Cunningham had 13 assists last night.
I didn't realize that.
Jalen Brunson's had 12 in the 3 games against Detroit.
Yeah.
In their first meeting back in January, Cade Cunningham had 13 assists. So there have been 2 separate games in this head-to-head where he's had more assists in a game than Jalen Brunson's had in this entire head-to-head. There's levels to this.
Yeah.
And I think that is a fair concern that if these 2 teams face each other again, I didn't think it last year, and I wonder if you guys think it this year, Jalen may be the second best player on the court.
Yeah. No, it felt like it last night because Cade Cunningham did whatever he wanted. Didn't matter who was on him, who was trying to check him. And it feels like, and we kind of hinted at this last year, that at some point he's going to become the superstar, right? Not necessarily pertaining to the Knicks, but just in the league. He's going to be one of those players that you fear. And with the Pistons now having the best record in basketball, not just in the East, the best record in basketball, and he is their guy who dominates whenever he kind of feels like it, is he not a superstar right now?
Oh, no, he is. And the way he's played in these head-to-heads has also emphasized that.
Right.
He's playing on another level. Now, here's the good news. We just laid out a lot of legitimate worries about last night. To me, they're all legitimate. At the end of the day, the next time the New York Knicks and the Detroit Pistons are going to play each other, I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. It could be 3 months from now. 3 months from now.
Yeah.
The Giants and Jets will have completed their drafts the next time these 2 freaking teams play. So as much as there are things from last night that concern you, and this is what I said about the Celtics last year.
You might not have to worry about it.
A, you might not have to worry about it, but B...
Didn't you even say yesterday they probably won't even see each other in the postseason?
That's my grandiose prediction.
Right, so they might not see each other until next season.
It is possible they never play each other, but it's also possible that there's a game-changing injury to either team that changes the complexion of this. There's also the chance that OG Anunoby, who was a mess last night, he sucked last night. The New York Knicks are trash. There's a good chance that OG Anunoby in 3 months is playing like the dog we know he is.
Of course.
Because last night he was the wrong kind of dog. So I think it's fair to talk about these concerns and debate these concerns.
Right.
But I got to stress this again, and I did it all last year, and boy, did I get the last laugh, even though I wasn't happy about it. But I was right about it. They're not playing for 3 months to freak out about the issues in February.
Right.
It feels trivial because so much can and will change.
No, of course it can. And you hope that it does. And that Mike Brown learns from this. And maybe Mike Brown is just, maybe he's okey-doking you. We're just going to play the way that we always play just because so you think that's how we play. And
that's not what's going on.
I'm just saying. And then if they see each other in the playoffs, game 1, they're playing 5 out. It's like we got all our shooters on the court. Yeah, you might just be able to score at will, but you know what? We believe we can outscore you. And again, to me, when I watched that game last night, it felt like just try to outscore them. Stop trying to be physical. Honestly, save your energy on defense because you're getting cooked anyways.
I do have a question for you. If you went to last night's game, and Craig had mentioned this with Big Mac yesterday afternoon, I'd know all about this as someone who's a season ticket holder, but last night was an insanely hot ticket. Very, very hot ticket. And unlike when the Warriors come to town or the Lakers come to town, this wasn't about the Pistons more than it was the Knicks against the Pistons, the rivalry that exists. No one's really paying to see the Detroit Pistons, with all due respect. Like, my Nets-Pistons tickets next week are not red hot because as good as Cade Cunningham is, as good as the Pistons are, no one's paying to see the Pistons.
Right.
People went to Madison Square Garden last night.
Yeah.
They went last night to see Knicks Pistons.
Yes.
And so the get-in price was $300. It was insane. If you were there last night, especially if you had spent your hard-earned money and you're a Knicks fan and you still feel overall good about the team, 2 or 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, would you have booed last night?
No. I don't think so.
You wouldn't have booed?
No, because it was an exceptional effort by the Pistons.
Oh, you would have done a tip your hat kind of moment.
Yeah, like, man, you guys are good. We got to go back to the drawing board. That would have been my take on it.
Sean is a booer and also doesn't root for the Knicks, so I need you to put your hat on and make believe you were rooting for a championship contending basketball team. Mm-hmm. If you were in the Garden last night as a Knicks fan, as disgusted as you were, would you have booed last night?
If you're not booing last night, you're never booing this regular season.
Okay. All right, that's not really an answer.
That's the point. It's the regular season.
But
really
we booed for far less for other teams in this town in the regular season.
What's your answer?
Yes, I would have.
Okay.
Because I got to be consistent. If that was one of my teams, I've booed for less efforts in that spot. That was a big spot last night.
You're a booer. I'm not a booer.
All right, let's play a game.
Okay.
There's a radio host here. His name is Boomer Esiason.
Yes.
Former athlete, too, much like you.
Yeah. He was just in the studio.
He was. What was he doing? Saying hi to you, Sean?
No, he has delivered an enormous gift package for Evan.
For me?
Yeah.
Well, that's very nice of Boomer.
Yeah,
Thank you
and
very much.
your kids are going home with several Mets hats and glasses.
That is very nice. Thank you, Boomer. I very much appreciate it. Luckily, what I'm about to do is not negative towards Boomer. It's more interesting. It's interesting. It's not negative or positive.
He's going to come back in and take his stuff.
Do you think Boomer Esiason would have booed last night at Madison Square Garden?
No. Boomer doesn't feel like a booer.
All right, let's take a listen. Would Boomer Esiason have booed last night at Madison Square Garden?
Honestly, if I were at that game last night, I would have been booing my ass off.
Wow.
Did you see that one coming?
Boomer. It's a regular season game. Give credit to the Pistons.
Give credit to them.
Then get to the postseason and whoop that ass.
You can boo all you want.
He boos Ranger games at the Garden with the bad effort. Why not be consistent with the Knicks?
He's a booer.
Do not boo.
Is he a big Knicks fan?
Yeah. I mean, he's more of a Ranger fan than a Knicks fan, but no, he's a genuine Knicks fan.
Yeah. I think in order to boo the Knicks, you got to be like the diehard, frustrated. I've sat here and watched you guys be inept against this team over and over and over again.
I think you got this completely backwards.
All right.
I think it's the opposite. I think those that would boo are more of the casuals. And I'm not saying Boomer is, because as Sean pointed out, he boos Ranger games or moments in Ranger games, and he's clearly a diehard. I think if you're a diehard Knicks fan, and I understand being a little worried.
Yeah.
I understand.
You're definitely a little worried.
Fine. I understand being bothered.
Yeah.
Because I'd be bothered last night. But deep down, you guys are no longer the new kid on the block.
Mm-hmm.
This is no longer the Knicks are back. You're a perennial playoff team, and you should know better. You should know better that what happens in February doesn't mean a damn thing in April, May, or June.
Right.
You know that. You all should know that. I sat here and took arrows from all of you about downplaying the Celtics' dominance over the Knicks. And it wasn't me saying you'd beat the Celtics. I never said that. I'm not taking credit for that. I said none of this matters. And now it does. Does it? I saw you last night arguing, Sean, telling Knicks fans it does matter. Does it matter?
It doesn't matter in terms of playing the Pistons, in a best of 7 series, you have to win 4. But it does matter when thinking about the Knicks getting through the Eastern Conference in general.
Yeah, but
you got to acknowledge the warning signs.
Catching Detroit anyways, right?
But that's not why I think it matters. Like last year, the big argument that everybody's pushing back is, well, look what happened with the Boston Celtics in the regular season. Yeah. And they got through Boston. Did they get through the Pacers afterwards?
What does that have to do with it, though?
The point is, what they are showing in the warning signs with the Pistons are warning signs come the playoffs to get through winning 12 games in this conference versus the elite of the elite, which the Pistons currently are. It's not just about, could they beat the Pistons 4 times? Sure. Are they good enough based on what you've seen in these kind of games versus the Pistons to win 12 games in the Eastern Conference? That's where I think it's trouble.